Alright, hello everybody, Resonance here, and today I have yet another expert game for you guys as part of my Break the Meta series for Age of Empires 2. Throughout this series, I'll be showcasing a wide variety of creative and situational strategies while evaluating how they might stack up in the current metagame. We've all seen our fair share of galley rushes and knights, so today it's time for something completely different. Today it's time for a 1 versus 1 on the map Hillfort, where a Spanish player makes essentially no military units as a legitimately viable strategy. In this expert match, MBL and BacT will both be playing as the Spanish, as part of the Escape Gaming Masters Regicide Tournament. This is a special episode of Break the Meta featuring a live co-commentary between myself and ZeroEmpires. I will also add in some additional Break the Meta analysis in certain parts to help explain a couple key points that neither of us quite had the time to cover while casting it live. I didn't expect to make this into a Break the Meta episode initially, but this match was such a rare gem where some really unorthodox strategies really got to shine on a map and a game mode that we never really get to see. So without further ado, let's jump straight into the game. One quick note is that most of the added Break the Meta analysis actually occurs in the mid to late game, so once we start getting to the Castle Age stage of the game, that's when I'm going to add in a lot of in-depth analysis. But in the meantime, let's enjoy the co-cast. Alright, so we're back again with some more Escape Gaming Masters Tournament. And if you're looking for competitive Age of Empires 2, then look no further than Escape Aoe and myself, my channel, as well as ZeroEmpires' channel. You can find links to those in the video description below for both of ours. This is going to be a 1 versus 1 on Hillfort between BacT and MBL. And the two civilizations, it's a Spanish mirror match. But this is a very odd map, Zach. Would you like to tell us a little bit more about Hillfort?
Okay, so yeah, Hillfort, obviously the first time we're seeing this in the tournament, and so first time we're seeing it today. It's, I don't know, like everyone used to love playing Fortress. I remember this in the zone. Like I'd play a lot of people who love playing Fortress. This is kind of like a modern version of that in a sense. You have your hill, you have a fort, and you have basic starting resources within those walls. It's a very safe start, but you are forced off of your hill pretty quickly. You can't hide behind those walls forever. First of all, the shallows which surround you, kind of like your moat, I suppose. And then after that, it's where you'll find most of the wood lines, where you'll find all of the extra gold piles, where you'll find the relics, and all of that good stuff. So players have a very safe and comfortable start, and also a very defensible position up on these hills, but they will have to remove themselves from that position at some point in the game, and that's when it can get interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Fortress meets Acropolis style thing, where you have a nice, safe early game with some protected gold. The golden stone particularly are very, very safe. But the wood lines are just very lacking, so you're going to have to actually exit the safety of your own base where you have the hill advantage quite early on, and that's going to force a lot of combat. It's going to make these players push their economy actually towards the back sides of the base, because the rush distance between the two of them is really, really short, and there are actually not that many valuable resources between them, except for these two gold mines that are off to the right, as well as a gold mine on the bottom side of MBL's base. All of those, I think, will be points of contention.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think I like your analogy to Acropolis, because you do see that with that map as well. The bigger wood lines are down off the hill, and that's where you see a lot of the sort of raids coming in. One thing to note about this map as well, it is still regicide, but there are no castles or towers to start with, which is something which kind of moves it further away from being your regular fortress style map. No castle to begin with. And that's interesting because it's a Spanish war, and the Spanish, they love their conquistadors. They really love their conquistadors, and if they'd have started with a castle, you could bet as soon as they hit the castle age, we'll see conquistadors coming out, and we'll see raiding immediately. This time around, it's not going to be so easy to get that castle up and get those conquistadors out, especially if you want to get a second TC up to protect your villagers, which are moving away from the safety of your fort.
Conquistadors are so good that we even see a fast Castle Age strategy into them outside of Regicide and game modes where you start with a castle. But not starting with a castle or a tower here is really, really bizarre for Regicide. It's one of those few situations where it's very low risk scouting with your king. You don't need to worry about Because the king, of course, it makes sense, is not only an extremely fast unit, but has excellent eyesight despite being obviously overweight. He's running around there giving you all this information. Normally you have to worry about running into a castle and just instantly losing the game. But here the main concern is running into an enemy scout when they hit the feudal age, they get that +2 attack on their scout, and then just losing your king. But I think for the most part, we'll be relatively safe. MVL's running into back scout, now they're going to do a little bit of skirmishing.
Yeah, fighting for the hill. BacT's going to get it. MBL going to get it. BacT going to get it. MBL, it's back and forth. And there's only so far they can go up before they hit the wall. It looks like BacT will get up an advantage there, and MBL will be forced to kind of back away a little bit, but he's going to stay hot on BacT's heels. See if he can get a favorable engagement. Nope, I don't think so. Wait, what? Oh my gosh. It's always funny watching these little fights. They're fighting for such a tiny advantage, but killing the scout is such a nice thing to be able to achieve. BacT looks like he's got the edge, but then suddenly it's MBL who takes it because he gets the feudal age upgrade first. And that +2 you spoke about was really the deal breaker there.
Absolutely decisive feudal age timing by MBL in what was one of the most epic scout cavalry fights I've seen in Age of Empires 2 in quite some time. BacT going for a little bit of a slower advancement timing, still not quite there, going to be about 20 seconds away. And it looks like, I think he's got his eye on the prize. I'm feeling Conquistadors from him. He's got those 4 villagers in stone, which I feel is pretty telling. And he also has quite a few villagers on gold. He needs 4 villagers on gold because you also don't start with any gold when you're playing on Regicide, so this will still allow him to get a very nice castle age timing. Conversely, if we look at MBL's build, he's only got 1 villager on stone, so he might be thinking more of just, I'd like to get down some town centers because the 150 starting stone's a little awkward for a boom, and then maybe he'll make some other type of units. We'll have to see. Okay, so I lied. I'm actually going to do a little bit of analysis before we get to the castle age. Of course, in order to break the meta, we must first know what the expected meta is. So first off, the map is Hill Fort, as Zach just explained, and it's a Spanish mirror match. Starting with stone walls and having valuable resources to raid on the low ground definitely encourages Conquistadors as the most common metagame option. Knights are a possibility as well, but Conquistadors have that range, which allows them to harass enemy units over walls or across a forest. They're also generally slightly better versus monks than knights are. Going for Conquistadors also gives you a castle to protect your king with, which remember, it's regicide, so you lose your king, you lose the game. This castle, protecting your king, is another reason why this is the standard build that we'd expect. This is even more encouraged by the fact that you start with additional villagers on regicide, as well as 500 food and 500 wood, which both allow you to get to the castle age quicker. Once you secure map control with Conquistadors, preventing your opponent from expanding town centers on the low ground, that gives you plenty of time to get to the Imperial age and begin sieging. This is the general metagame strategy on maps like this and Fortress. Of course with the options for things like monks and mangonels and crossbows, but in a Spanish mirror, you'd think that both of the players are probably going to go for meta Conquistadors. However, as you'll all be very pleased to see, the meta is about to be broken. As I always say, mirroring your opponent when you think he has an advantage is not always a good idea, so sometimes you have to get creative with your counters.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, he has gathered more than the 50 stone he needs to build the second and third town center, but he still has the 1 villager on the stone anyway. I mean, it's interesting why he's continuing to add more stone. Maybe he's thinking of making 4 TCs. But I do have to say, I do favor BacT's sort of attempt at going Conquistadors here, just with how the map is so open and open to raiding, I should say, once you leave your fort or leave your hill. And surely MBL, when he hits the castle age, will leave his hill. And that's leaving his villagers ripe for the picking, essentially, for BacT's Conquistador here. So we are going to see 2 different playstyles, and we're going to see which one comes out on top. And really, this is a strategic choice from each player. And I like that. I like it when players don't just follow a very rigid metagame, you know?
Oh yeah, me too, and I think that the settings were very well picked for this tournament in particular. I mean, one of the dangers of dealing with BacT's Conquistadors is that MBL has his king sitting around there, could end up getting sniped if he's not too careful. I'm really curious what his game plan actually is. He's sending a couple villagers outside, trying to claim some map control on the low ground. Map control, very essential here, because he's going to need a safer wood line. And with that nice concave shape there, that could be an excellent town center placement. But he does have to watch out for the upcoming castle timing. I mean, that's 6 villagers on stone for BacT. He is getting ready to start pumping out some conquistadors and take control of the map.
Yeah, the only thing is he's going up with 24 vills, so he doesn't have the strongest food economy here. You know, he's only got 3 farms and 3 villas on sheep, so he's only just keeping villager production going by that amount of food income. To make conquistadors on top of that, I feel like he's going to run out of food very quickly. He's got to be careful that that doesn't happen. He's got quite a lot of wood as well, so if he plans to put down a second TC, again, similar problem, won't have enough food to keep production from both TCs going. So we'll see what he does. We'll keep a close eye on BacT right now. MBL, just to note, did put the TC up in the north, but let's see. Deleting the walls on the front, the castle going to go in the middle, maybe? Do you think?
Is the castle going to go in the middle? Because that's awfully risky.
I know. I was going to say, like,
okay,
putting it that far forward at the bottom of a hill, that doesn't make sense. He's going to delete the wall and put it there, which is, that's okay. But then what?
Yeah, I like this. Okay, yeah, putting it in the middle, I mean, you look up Treb fodder in a dictionary and you'd find a picture of that one, and it doesn't really secure you that much valuable map control, literally fighting an uphill battle. But this one protects the stone, protects his base, and it's also positioned still offensively to allow him to apply pressure quicker. Town center in the top for MBL. MBL going for monks. I mean, one of the things I was going to talk about, which didn't happen this game, is that I was going to say, since you start with the castle, I expect Inquisition to be a valuable counterplay to the opposing Conquistador rush, which I thought would be inevitable in this type of mirror match. But it turns out you don't start with the castle, which means that MBL doesn't get Inquisition, which is the new Spanish unique tech that increases the speed in which they convert enemy units.
Yeah, he is going to drop down 2 monasteries, though. He is anticipating this, and let's see why he might be anticipating this. He scouted it. That explains a lot. His scout, of course, being alive, since he did win that scout war earlier on, giving MBL that little edge there. And I think, I don't know, monks can be a little hit and miss. If you prepare early enough and get plenty of monks ready to deal with conquistadors, I think they can be effective. I think if you're rushing to get monks to deal with a group of conquistadors that are already on the map, you might have a bit of trouble. But yeah, BacT now idle TC, doesn't have enough food to make conquistadors and villagers from 2 town centers, but he's working on it.
Yeah, the importance of keeping your scout alive to know what your opponent is actually doing is one of the most important things in competitive Age of Empires too. And it's also great to point out that, yeah, BacT went up on a very low population. He doesn't really have the economy to support conquistadors, which are an expensive unit, as well as sustained villager production. And MBL, he doesn't mind so much about the poor mobility of the monks. He's just going to try and use them defensively, and also grab all of his nearby relics. I think that might have also been part of it, is that he just happened to have 3 relics really close to his base. But BacT, on the hunt. He's looking for a king that maybe he can snipe over the wall, or if there are any spare villagers that are floating around. He's also just trying to get as much map control as he can, and meanwhile BacT as well with another TC on the low ground. That's where we expect these players to put them. Will BacT find any pickoffs?
That's the question. I mean, 2 conquistadors might... Oh, MBL doesn't have loom, so yeah, I guess he will find pickoffs if he hits the shots. There's one problem with the conquistadors, they're not exactly accurate, but yeah, MBL's going to spot that, realize, oh, I don't have loom, I'm going to do that quickly. No one saw that. No one saw that. And,
cut the video, cut the video.
He's in the chat as well, so... That's quite funny. I think that the Conquistadors here won't really do too much. Not with just 2. I think he needs at least 3 or 4, which he does have now, but he needs to group them together to be able to, you know, one-shot villagers and catch them off guard.
Yep, that's the reason, exactly the reason why he needs at least 3 or 4, and we see that commonly used as a raiding group because that's how you pick up a villager in one hit. I was gonna point out that he didn't have loom, but that was one of the things I ended up forgetting, and thankfully loom research is in like 25 seconds, he'll be fine. 65% accuracy, really biting BacT here as he's trying to get some raiding off, but he does pick off 1 villager. MBL has that house over in the corner over there for vision. That's pretty sick, right? I wonder if he even has town watch. Is he that kind of guy? Alright, he doesn't, but if he gets it, then he'll be able to see those conquistadors as they come in. Big battle going on right now. Will there be any successful conversions? Yes!
There'll be two. Nice. As MBL gets two conversions there. In small numbers, those Conquistadors are going to struggle against the monks like that. And the monks, do have Sanctity for the extra 15 health. So that certainly helped out in that case. So looking good for MBL. And actually, I was kind of correct when I said earlier, maybe he's going for that 4th TC. He is. He's putting it down on the right side. And MBL is starting to look very good in this game by basically mitigating BacT's early aggression and forcing BacT to fall behind in economy. BacT is putting his 3rd TC up. He's at 38 vils. MBL is at 52 as TC number 4 is on the doors.
Yeah, I'd say an excellent and bold defense by MBL, not going for those Conquistadors right off the bat. I mean, why make them if you can just steal your opponents? And the monks are so critical in these early game engagements because you just don't have enough military units to kill them off before the conversion goes off. And the Conquistador is very inaccurate at range, very expensive, just perfect for the monks to deal with. The Sanctity upgrade by MBL, I think, was absolutely essential in allowing him to win those fights. But BacT recognizes that he's behind and he's going to have to make a big play. And you know what that play is? It's a forward house. But also, the house comes with a siege workshop. Can he do something with that? Because the monks are on the offensive. I think that BacT might be able to catch MBL's army out of position here.
Yeah, I really like the Siege Workshop attachment to the house here. I think that's a nice, nice movement. But yeah, MBL gonna get caught out from behind, both the monks getting sniped down, and that's a situation where the monks just don't work. You know, when your opponent runs in, bam, bam, they're gone. But he won't be able to get to all of these Conquistadors from MBL just yet. He's trying to chase them down. That inaccuracy is hurting him as he runs away. BacT's trying to get a reconvert. Can he pull that one off? I don't think... Yep. There you go. You got it.
You see how good these players are, BacT converting the... So, these players are constantly clicking the HP bars of every individual unit. He converted the one that had the higher HP while focus firing down the lower HP one, giving him maximum value out of his conversion, because the monk has to regenerate that fate. So yeah, great play by BacT there, exploiting the poor mobility on the monks. The moment you start going offensive with them, you better have a mangonel or significant military units to back him up, or it just falls apart. And now BacT has the opportunity he was waiting for, because almost all of MBL's economy is on the right side of his base. He has no TCs on the left. So, I think it's mangonel time.
MBL's played this very passively so far. You know, opening with 2 monasteries, making monks. It's a really defensive, passive style, especially since he's added the 4th TC as well. I guess some people would even call it greedy. And maybe he'll pay, but we will see, as BacT is actually not committing to attacking that TC with the mangonel. He's sent it off running around the north side. I'm not really sure where he's going with that, to be honest. Maybe he'll kill a villager in the wood line. Just one. But
it's that positioning of that town center by MBL is so hard for him to defend. His villagers just asking for a mangonel shot to the face, and BacT even just barely has his mangonel able to be perched on a hill too, while he's sieging for a little bit of additional damage. Does have to worry about taking some town center shots, but he will juke out of there. And really what's nice about this is that these farmers are so unsafe, these lumberjacks too, that they just have to be idle. It's as if they're not there at all. Huge damage to MBL's economy. Now BacT with a second mangonel. The way this game is so immaculately well designed, the 7 range of the mangonel outranging the town center allows him to safely continue this siege, heal up his conquistadors with his monks. But MBL's got more monks, and he's got Sanctity. Can he do something before the TC falls?
He's also got Redemption. This is really important. He wants to convert the mangonels, and the mangonels are outranged by the monks. So there you go. It's like the mangonels one up the TC, the monks one up the mangonels. But I don't know if it's going to be enough. It's messy as BacT comes in, tries to take out the conquistadors. He will clean up the converted mangonel at the back. The TC still stands as those villagers go for the repairs.
You know,
not too bad of a defense from MBL there.
Not too bad indeed, and I have to say, in all my years of co-casting with you, that was one of the messiest fights I have ever seen in competitive Age of Empires 2. We're gonna need an instant replay at like 0.25 speed for all the things that happened there. Between the villagers getting forcibly ungarrisoned from the town center, then having to repair it really quickly, then jump back inside to juke those shots, and then we got the mangonel conversion, which managed to pick off one of BacT's, a lot of BacT's units. And wow, MBL actually manages to hold the line, and now he's putting down a castle. He wants to join the cool kids club. get some conquistadors of his own. These conversions are huge. Redemption, like you said, Sanctity. What a well-crafted defense by MBL, and now the turntables have turned yet again. Alright, so I'm going to play back this fight in slow motion because there's just so much that goes on here. At the start, we see BacT retreating his conquistadors outside of that town center fire, while MBL on the left is slowly bringing his monks in on the defensive. What's interesting to note here is that once the town center reaches a certain HP threshold, the villagers are forcibly ejected, and then they're going to be right in the line of that mangonel blast, where BacT can just pick them all off. Now, the monks are moving forward from MBL. He wants to get the conversion off. He has redemption, but he's going to take a partial blast. They're targeting the town center, so it's not a direct hit, and Sanctity allows him to live. He gets a conversion on the mangonel. We can see that at the top, but the villagers, they've been ejected, and now he has to repair the town center to make sure that he can get it at the HP threshold to put his villagers back in it. In the meantime, we see some monks on the left getting very crucial conversions on some conquistadors, and that converted mangonel at the top just got a kill on one of BacT's monks. But BacT had a second mangonel, which had to actually walk in range of the town center to get that shot off to kill the converted mangonel, and he gets it. And now the villagers, they're ejected again, and now he needs to repair the town center to get them in and try and deal some damage, because he needs to get the villagers inside the town center so they fire arrows at the enemy conquistadors so that actually MBL doesn't lose his really low HP conquistador, which he's trying to use to bait BacT's conquistadors underneath the town center fire. See how he's doing this? Meanwhile, there's a mangonel inching at the top side of the screen, in which MBL wants to use to kill BacT, but BacT's gonna juke that, and then you still see this dance on the bottom, where MBL is using a lone conquistador to bait BacT's conquistadors, all three of them, underneath the TC and the monk, and he actually manages to get an exchange there, while those two mangonels on the top juke it off. But the thing is that MBL is being so clever about his town center's 6 range. That's a radius that nothing can pass into. And that mangonel by BacT took so much damage. This fight was insane. And now the monks, they're back, they ungarrison, the villagers ungarrison, and BacT's on the retreat, and now the castle starts coming up from MBL. That fight was insane and took some nuts micro. There were basically 2 fights going on simultaneously, so I hope you all enjoyed my little instant replay. And then boom, here comes the 2 conquistadors coming in there to snipe off that mangonel, zone away that monk, and now let's jump straight back into the game.
Well, even the threat of redemption there was enough, because that made BacT delete his own mangonel to prevent it from being converted. In the meantime, MBL wasn't even converting the mangonel. He was converting the 2 conquistadors. So it was a beautiful play by MBL there. Gets the conversions. Now he gets another couple of mangonels as well. So far, keeping everything alive. You know, it's hard to know which units are his anymore or which units are stolen. But either way, he's making some great plays, making some great trades. And MBL is pushed BacT away. BacT unable to take down the town center, now fortified with a castle. Not going to be getting through there anytime soon. And MBL will also go up to the Imperial Age as BacT actually goes for a gut shot into MBL's economy here with these 4 conks. How did he even get in? Did he just walk in on the right side?
He actually did just casually waltz in there. Now, if BacT, if only he knew, if only he had map hacks, then he actually would have been able to snipe MBL's king, because MBL didn't move his king for like a good 30 to 40 seconds, but he did eventually put it safely inside the town center. So I like that BacT is doing this raiding. I think that this will help equalize the game a bit, but it will also put him further behind militarily. It's a strategic trade-off, because those conquistadors are sure as hell not getting out of there. And Sanctity even more important for MBL, because it also allows his monks to live the mangonel shots and then heal themselves back. With MBL putting down his second castle, again, I like the placement of this one on top of that hill. He's almost to the Imperial Age, you know, good solid 1.5 minutes ahead of BacT. That could be decisive in these Treb Wars. One thing I'd like to explain is exactly why is MBL not making any real military units this game besides only a handful of monks? One of the main reasons is actually because monks cost gold, which is much easier on MBL's economy than having a ton of villagers mine stone for castles, and then spending both food and gold on conquistadors like BacT has been doing all game. On the flip side, BacT gets to apply a lot of map pressure, and some valuable raiding. But if MBL can successfully defend himself, then he should actually have a slightly faster Imperial Age timing, despite being raided, because he saved all of that food which could have been spent on conquistadors or knights. And in any game of competitive Age of Empires 2, technology leads are absolutely decisive. Getting the first trebuchet out means that your opponent has to waste their own stone and villager work time by repairing their castle, while waiting for their own trebuchets to spawn and eventually return fire. During this time, you can harass the repairers, and maybe even drain all of the stone entirely from your opponent. That's one of the many reasons why getting to the Imperial Age first helps, because it allows you to remove an entrenched opponent. And on a map like Hill Fort, with stone walls on a hill, your opponent is always going to be entrenched. It's a pretty clever build from MBL, and overall very well executed. However, BacT has been playing a great game too, and MBL definitely made a big mistake early on by overextending with his monks early. BacT, being an excellent player, just immediately pounced on that opportunity and staged a very threatening counterattack. But MBL held on. He's resilient. His skin is made of solid steel. And now he's in a position, after saving a lot of money on the defensive and building a very large economy, to prepare for the siege of the century.
Absolutely, and there's no doubt that MBL will be getting some trebs out here. Obviously, we're also seeing MBL putting down ranges on the right side, going straight into skirms. Gold is actually quite a little bit of a problem on this map. We identified that earlier on. Skirms are going to be a good sort of unit to bolster his numbers a little bit here while he spends his gold on those all-important trebuchets.
So why exactly does MBL make skirmishers here? You'll see very shortly that the reasoning is brilliant. MBL knows that he needs to win fast because the longer the game goes, the more he risks back being able to stage a comeback. MBL sees an opportunity here because he knows that he's going to get to the Imperial Age first. MBL starts making skirmishers because he knows that he can close out the game by getting out the first trebuchet to start sieging out BacT's castle on that hill before BacT has a chance to get the Imperial Age on his own and then have his own trebuchets to defend himself. Those trebs are pretty expensive to make though, and BacT has conquistadors to defend them. So skirmishers are actually an excellent cheap unit choice by MBL to defend his trebuchets and keep the pressure on BacT. It's not often that rushing elite skirmishers after only making monks is actually viable, but here it absolutely is. And of course, as we see here, it looks like MBL threatening BacT's houses. Oh my god! Threatening to convert them, and he will be able to. It just takes bloody forever, and that's 10 population down the drain, as well as a decisive 50 wood deficit for BacT. Can he recover? That is the question. And the gold, the reason it's so problematic this game is it's not necessarily the map itself, but just the way it was generated. All the gold mines are in such a dangerous position, and I kind of like the skirmishers from MBL 2 because they're decent against conquistadors and hand cannoneers. Very common in this matchup due to the Spanish faster firing gunpowder units as well as just good gunpowder in general. Good to get out the first treb to start the fight, but it's going to be a little less significant here just because the elevation disadvantage that the trebs are just always going to have. And now BacT basically, he's got to stall and he's got to come up with a plan while he gets to the Imperial Age because the trebs, they're deployed.
And once the trebs are popping, the castles are dropping. And BacT really has no way to stop the trebs. Like, he can't run over there with his conks. There's elite skirmishers out here now. And of course, yeah, this castle's on the hill. The trebuchet is going to take a little longer to bring it down. But it is a threat that BacT has no way to deal with. And in this game, you never want to be in a position where there is a threat that you cannot deal with. BacT is getting messy. He's going to try another castle on the corner. And MPL's going to push up with the skirms. But the monks at the back, 2 conversions coming in immediately and more to follow. This is not looking good for for BacT here.
It's those monks. I was going to say that BacT could probably hold the line because he has the hill advantage and a good amount of armor on those conquistadors, even though they're not great versus skirmishers, but the monks are so goddamn decisive. Did MPL get Inquisition here? Because those conversions were fast. And now BacT trying his best to hold the line with a desperate castle, but he got mass converted this game. The monks have been so good. And BacT wants to defend himself with trebs too, but he might not even get the treb out before he loses that castle. It's going to be close.
It is indeed going to be close. I think the castle may go down, but either way, the castle on the north side, it's officially a doubt castle. It hasn't been able to go up, and BacT's going to bring over another 10, 15 villages to try and build it. Is this a true doubt castle? Will he go out in style? Will he get it up? That's a question that he's been asking for a while now. But it will indeed make it. But yeah, that was too close for comfort, really.
We're talking about a lack of wood earlier, and now we're asking whether or not BacT can get it up. And he does indeed get it up because he can get up 30% faster. Hashtag just Spanish things. So as we can see here, the trebuchets, believe it or not, are actually not enough to break down BacT's immaculately well-defended castle. So what exactly is MBL gonna do? Where is he gonna get that extra boost of momentum to finish the job and take down BacT before he recovers? The building speed bonus is another reason why the Conquistador rush is sick, and why the Spanish are actually able to defend themselves so well. Honestly, like, BacT is really far behind, but he's defending this immaculately well, somehow keeping his castle alive, allowing him to get the defensive treb off for some counter treb wars, and MBL, he's lost his mind, Zach! He's going for town centers on the low ground! He's got Supremacy!
He has not lost his mind. It's just standard MBL play. If MBL loses this game now, all I'm gonna say is he deserves it, but if he wins, then he wins in style. You know what I mean? Like, here he comes with the villagers, and they have 80 health, 3+6 attack.
Does he have Sappers?
Armor. He has got Sappers.
Oh!
If only arson would work too.
Please. What the hell am I looking at?
Going down? Like, is he even losing health? It is. It's on fire.
Meta equals broken. BacT falling apart at the seams to a villager revolution. The working class here rebelling against it. Now, normally I like Supremacy personally as a technology for defensive purposes. I think it makes your villagers very hard to raid, and it keeps them safe in the late game. It's one of the reasons why I think the Spanish are so strong. However, MBL, putting them on the offensive, 80 HP, 9 attack, that's respectable. He's picking off the castles. What is this in Sappers plus 15 versus buildings? I mean, that's a cheap military.
It certainly is. The Trebs weren't doing it, so just send the villagers in, because they're the true siege units of this game.
Basically, if we break this moment down, MBL is on a clock here. BacT is actually successfully stalling this push with his castle and careful micro of his limited army of Conquistadors. If MBL waits too long, it could easily give BacT the opportunity to make an army and stage a counterattack. Breaking this castle now was crucial because the game was much closer than it seemed. MBL needed more siege weapons, and he needed them fast. But rams and trebuchets take so long to create, and they're really expensive too. So what does he do? MBL not only gets Supremacy to buff his villagers, but he also goes where no expert player has ever gone before. He gets Sappers, and he makes it look good. At this point in the game, most players are fully boomed with an economy of around 100 to 120 villagers. So if you're looking for a super quick army, either for combat or for sieging, the Spanish can actually, in rare circumstances, mobilize their entire economy as a makeshift military force. In this case, it's going to be Sappers, because these villagers need to break down BacT's castle, and they need to do it fast, before he stages any kind of comeback. This play by MBL is not only hilarious, but it's also creative and brilliant. So through an expertly crafted mix of monks, super cheap elite skirmishers, and a flawless timing attack with Spanish villagers, I've gotta hand it to MBL for putting on one hell of a show. In Break the Meta episode 13, we got to see a Spanish villager rush in action. But this one is actually a little bit different, because this is a very coordinated Spanish villager timing attack coupled with the Spanish unique technology Supremacy, which gives their villagers a big boost to their combat stats, and Sappers, which gives villagers a plus 15 attack bonus versus buildings. It's extremely rare that we get to see Sappers actually be put to good use, and ultimately, that's what makes this match such an incredibly good Break the Meta replay. It's not often that Sappers sees competitive play, let alone that it's an optimal technology to research in most situations. And yet here, in this extremely competitive tournament game, Sappers gets an unprecedented amount of value. Instead of being used to build towers, these Spanish villagers are being used as siege weapons to break down a very well executed defense by BacT. In fact, it's really only because MBL decided to utilize Sappers that he was able to break down that castle in time and press the advantage before BacT even had a chance to rebuild.
BacT's actually going to lose his second castle as well, and where's his army? Like, where is his defense? He has nothing. here. There was like 6 conquistadors on the map for BacT, while MBL has 34 military on the army counter, but we should suddenly include these 50 villagers here as well. So, yeah, MBL's just going after castle after castle after castle, and okay, the castles do kill the villas pretty quick, but this is ridiculous, really.
This is one of the hottest games of Age of Empires 2 I have seen in 2017. I hope that people do share this one around. This one has been absolutely excellent. I mean, not even Masonry can save back at this point. I was going to say that one of the ways he could defend against this would be if, you know, BacT had a university and he got chemistry and he was actually able to defend with bombard cannons, but he's just never had the money for that. He hasn't had the resources, and honestly, if you want an army that's instant, just add water. Supremacy villagers are kind of the way to go when your opponent doesn't have much of a military, because every time he tries to make some units, MBL just keeping BacT down by converting them instantly. He knows how to push an advantage. You keep your opponent down with monks, and then you kill him with villagers.
I think MBL is enjoying this as his wood count just keeps going up and up and up. It's at 5,000 now. This is ridiculous. MBL though, seriously, like it's not even like a BS strat. Like, this is a legitimate strategic choice to do this. It's not like he's just trolling. I mean, maybe you could consider this as a troll, but it's actually working and it actually does make sense in the context of the game. So I think that's pretty neat. BacT is doing the same. I mean, he's coming in with some villagers to try and take down the TC here, but he doesn't have Supremacy and he certainly doesn't have Sappers. So that TC is going down no time soon. So BacT is maybe out here. I don't know. I mean, MBL is just like, okay, gonna grab some more wood here. I just can't help myself.
BacT is pretty out, but this is not a troll strat. This is like some legit 50k YouTube subscribers break the meta special. I'm digging this. I mean, like I said, this is how you apply some fast pressure. You have all those villagers because you were making them early game for the economy, and if your opponent has a small military, the monks can just keep converting them and just keep them further behind. And if you want to close out a game really fast, get Supremacy, get Sappers. This is one of the few times where Spanish mass villagers is actually good. What an amazing game, and well played by both sides. GG.
This is Age of Empires. That's kind of brilliant. When you said 50k subscribe, I thought you were going to say 50k elo.
Oh, also that too. Undoubtedly.
Yeah, undoubtedly. Honestly, that was a fun game. BacT maybe not feeling too happy with the result. The chat at the end there saying get out. MBL saying no. BacT saying okay, GG. And GG was called. MBL, I don't want to say that the Supremacy villagers won him the game. I think what won MBL the game was the superior economy, which allowed him to get so far ahead that actually pulling off this strat worked. I don't think this strat would just work unless MBL had the trebs to back it up, the monks, the conquistadors. If he hadn't had an eco lead at that point, a military advantage at that point, this just kind of happened to be the icing on the cake.
Yeah, and that it was. There were so many interesting back and forth moments in this game, but MBL with a well-crafted defense, the monks proving to be very difficult to deal with all the crucial upgrades. He just played this game like really well. He transitioned into the Imperial Age with that elite skirms, and he got the trebs out first, started applying some serious pressure, and then transitioned into the Sappers villagers to close out the game, never wanting to give BacT any breathing room. And what an excellent game of Age of Empires 2. If it's all right with you, Zach, I think maybe we can take a quick break and then go straight into the next game after a few minutes.
No problem. How long do you want? We'll put the timer up.
We'll give it. Let's give it 3 minutes.
Okie doke. All right, guys. We will see you in 3 minutes for the final game of the day. That will be an elimination match: Doubt versus Cloud. And we'll have Doubt versus Cloud in 3 minutes' time. It's going to be Hill Fort once again. And I'm looking forward to seeing this map again. I think that it's certainly been an entertaining first game, and we'll see what game number 2 has to hold. So we'll see you in just a few minutes, guys.
You can even set it to 2 minutes. I'll be right back. Thank you so much for watching, everybody, and supporting competitive Age of Empires 2. We'll be back real quickly. One other quick thing is I wanted to say thank you so much, ZeroEmpires, for not only inviting me to cast the tournament this weekend, but also being super flexible with the upload schedule. That way we could upload in sync. So thank you so much, Zach, for being awesome. I really appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed watching this video, then there are plenty more Age of Empires 2 Break the Meta videos in a playlist in the video description below, as well as expert commentaries, tutorials, gameplay videos, and videos for a wide variety of other games as well. While you're at it, it would be awesome if you could check out my Twitch page, where I live stream regularly and the schedule is below the video player there. I have to say, it was a real pleasure to cast this one with ZeroEmpires, and I hope you all enjoyed our impromptu Break the Meta collab. It's obviously been a very long time since I've recorded any Break the Meta videos, and that's because I take the criteria for the series very seriously. Break the Meta is not about troll strategies at any level, and it's not about expert players trolling noobs either. This series is about showcasing really unique situations in expert gameplay where off-meta strategies are actually the better option compared to the usual. It's about situations where out-of-the-box thinking wins the game, and in this case, it's Sappers. And it has to actually be two expert players on both sides, so that way I can actually showcase some meaningful counterplay. Oftentimes, people submit me replays that don't quite fit the criteria, and to be honest, there aren't actually that many good Break the Meta replays out there. In fact, at the time, I had basically covered them all. There are a few gems that pop out every now and then, and in those cases, I'm happy to cover them. But remember that Break the Meta contains replays from as early as 2002, and it's the best of them, so the bar for quality here is quite high. That's why it's been so long between episodes, because those kinds of games don't happen that often, and when they do, I really think they deserve the spotlight. I do want everyone to know, though, that I routinely upload very interesting expert game commentaries and viewer games from my livestream, which while they aren't technically Break the Meta material, they almost always showcase very interesting strategies. So hopefully this video encourages you to check them out, because I have a vast library of crazy off-meta strategy videos, and you can even find playlists of them in the video description below. In the future, you can expect almost all Break the Meta episodes to not be live casts or co-casts, because Break the Meta is all about the super in-depth analysis that just easily can't be done live or with a co-caster. Because in most cases, things would either happen way too quickly, or we'd be too shocked to actually analyze what god-tier doubt-level strategy we're actually witnessing. In this case though, I think it turned out really well, and I want to know what you think. If you prefer the traditional Break the Meta style, then rest assured that I will almost exclusively be doing that. But if you did like this one, then also let me know by leaving a like rating and a comment below. Personally, I love casting this match with ZeroEmpires, and it's been a long time since I've seen a match quite like this, but they do happen. And when they do, I hope you like it as much as I do. Feel free to share it around as well, and if you don't use adblock, then that's a tremendous help to the channel. One final thing, I'm also heavily considering making a Patreon, which by the time this video is uploaded, it might already exist, so keep an eye in the video description below. I've hit quite a very rough spot financially recently, so any donations, subscriptions, lack of adblock, it's all very appreciated. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you all next time.